So I've called this video The Language of Love, which sounds a little corny. I couldn't think of anything else to call it that's more relevant than that, and I'm pretty sure that was some kind of 80s song, but who knows, you let me know. And this is about the kind of I actually think that language and thoughts are really powerful, and I know that many other people feel the same. That your thoughts are your future, they are your physiology, they become your body and your kind of external world, and it's really that simple, every single thought. So there is a lot of unhelpful language around, really, that we use, and unhelpful thoughts, and it's kind of monitoring them and kind of keeping on top of them and turning them into positives. So the language that I use and the feeling, that's what's important, the feeling and emotion that is stirred up from that language is love and unconditional love. And it's quite easy to step into fear mode, your kind of body contracts, slightly different than kind of opening really. So what I mean by that is kind of without judgment, love without judgment, on a really kind of deep level, a really kind of deep and core level. So the language that I can't compute and the language that I'm not letting in is the prevailing language that's out there, which is things like, you know, you're going to fight this is something you fight, this is a battle that you're going to win, and that it's kind of a war in many ways. You see that, you know, war against cancer, war against illness, war against terror, war against drugs. I've never heard about or seen a war where anyone actually wins, to be honest. Can't really think of one where there is a winner without a loser. And I firmly believe that everything in life needs to be win-win, otherwise it just doesn't work out in my kind of view. So I'm not suffering. Some people might do, I don't feel that way. I'm not suffering, I'm not sad, I'm happy. I feel happy, I feel lucky, I feel loved. I do not feel sad, I do not feel like I'm suffering, and I don't feel sorry for myself. So that makes me feel abundant, it makes me feel buoyant and relaxed. And that's quite a natural, I've put a lot of groundwork in historically to this, bizarrely. So when I was told you have cancer by the NHS, it's almost as if the underlying feeling and mode and way of being that I have been working on, for want of a better way, I don't know what else, you know, that I've been working on, I guess, or been exploring and moving towards, just suddenly multiplied. You know, it became bigger, this feeling of kind of love and happiness and relaxing. And I think that if you weren't in a particularly good place prior to perhaps being announced to you, that's what would be expanded. So again, I feel lucky that for some reason for the last 10 years I've been exploring that kind of world really. So I know that the words that I'm using, like suffering and fighting and battling and stuff, are quite common, and I'm not saying that people, when they talk to you about it, don't mean that with love. I just think that it's not helpful, that's all. And it's quite natural. But I think particularly when it's given by, I'm not talking about the kind of general public in many ways, my families and friends, but when the medical world talk in that way and promote it in that way, that's when I think it's kind of not very helpful. And to me, that's the kind of medicine and the language and philosophy and approach and perspective of the Dark Ages. And there is a New Age. And that's all based on history. That's all based on history. And again, I really believe that any time that you're told that you have any form of illness, whether it be cancer, hay fever, diabetes, anything, it's instantly old news. It's based on the way that you were, not the way that you are in that moment that you're told, and not the way that in the future. So it's old news. So the perspective and approach that I'm taking is kind of looking back slightly to a certain extent. But yeah, there's not much else I can say about that in such a short video, but I just think it's old news. So I feel like I'm experiencing cancer, whatever that means. And so far it's been wonderful. I said in a few videos before, I went through a period of having anxiety, which must have a bit of depression there as well, I don't really know. But I had it. The second I started to experience it, it moved slightly. An experience is something, you get various experiences and they ebb and they flow. When you have something, it's very different. It's a very different kind of energy, really. So I think that I'm certainly feel like I'm experiencing it. So this kind of swelling that I currently have the word swelling feels a lot lighter than perhaps some other language that people use. The way that I feel, the way my body feels when I say that, feels very light and relaxed and positive. And the other word that's particularly unhelpful is the word have. Nobody has cancer. Nobody has depression or has anxiety. I didn't have this scarf or this t-shirt. I didn't even have this body. This body, the cells in this body change consistently. Every 7 or 8 years, our bodies are completely different before. So the person that stood here 7 years ago is not the same person. I have different skin, veins, a heart, organs, eyes. Everything in my body is completely different than 7 or 8 years ago. So I don't even have my body. I don't own anything. Nobody owns anything. All I do have is love, this relentless, bit of a strong word, but this relentless, ongoing, abundant, untapped source of that. Other than that, everything else I don't really have. So when you say you have cancer, you have diabetes, it's like this kind of feeling that comes over you that isn't helpful. Whereas if you just experience it, see what it brings, it turns into a gift and an opportunity, something to explore. So my approach is love mode, basically, rather than fear mode. I certainly think when someone says to you, you have cancer, you've got to fight it, it's going to be a battle, I feel sorry for you, you're suffering, you're going to be sad, that's fear mode. I mean, your body will change, the colour that you see inside will change. Whereas if you're just in love mode and you're experiencing it, it becomes something that's just part of life, it's just part of everyday life. So, like I said, I think that your thoughts inform your cells. Your cells love you, your body loves you, they are waiting to be delightfully instructed by your thoughts, and they do. That's what they do. Every thought is a kind of mini prayer in many ways, and your cells respond to your thoughts. And to me, that's the emerging science. Anything revolved around that in physics is the emerging science as far as I'm concerned. And there's a book here that I thought was massively helpful. This is a guy called Dr. David Hamilton. So if you want someone to read that's got a PhD in this kind of thing, because I haven't got a PhD in it, I only feel it, then read this book. It's called How Your Mind Can Heal Your Body. David Hamilton is an expert on how our thoughts and minds can physically change our bodies. Wonderful book, available. I bought this from Amazon, but I'm sure you can get it from anywhere basically. But I could say a million other books, but that is superb. He's basically describing what I'm talking about, and there's scientific evidence there if anybody needs it. So this is the kind of the language of love, really, the language that I'm using, the way that I feel. Please join me. Let's see how this feels.